Welcome back to JMFG Podcast, everybody. I still want to, like I always do before every episode, I want to thank everybody for all the shots out for just supporting, the cause and what we think our mission is or what we know our mission is. And it's just to help people, help families, share stories, and hopefully the people that are sharing stories, I'm getting that a lot from the guests that I'm having now, that them actually sharing their stories is actually helping them. So what I want to say is thank you to all of the guests that I've had so far. And if you, as a follower, if you have a story out there, you know somebody with the story, my contact info is on the website, should be, or send an email, or just hit me up on social media, and I will get in contact with you, and I like to bring them on the show, and let's talk about it. But I always want to send that shout out and thank everybody. But now today, have a real good friend of mine on the show today, Robert Harrell. That don't even sound right saying that. I didn't even know what the guy's name was, to be honest with you. He's always been Shrek to me, so... Now, having said that, I'm going to go ahead and let him introduce himself. Shrek.
Hey, I'm Shrek. I was born in Oklahoma. I'm an Oklahoma boy.
Okay.
I'm part Choctaw.
Hold on. Part Choctaw. Is that Indian?
Yeah, baby. For real.
Lord have mercy.
Card carrying, baby.
Card carrying. I like it.
I got a card to prove it. I'm a registered Choctaw artist.
Okay.
With the tribe. And so all my artwork's native artwork. It can be sold that way. So
nice. So for everybody who don't know, I actually met Shrek through the Brotherhood. And I remember the first time I met Shrek, he probably don't remember. Shrek was just kind of staring at me like, who is this dude? Who is this guy? He's just like, man, this dude's out of control. I don't know who he was, but Shrek's a pretty big boy. If you notice, he's probably like 4 me. And so I got to ask, where'd you get the nickname Shrek from? I think I know, but where'd you get it from?
So the first day on the job in New Jersey, I got out of the Army as a firefighter. And I went to the government doing the same thing.
Okay.
And so I was a GS employee, and I had got my gear issued to me, and I was over at HR doing paperwork, and I come back, and my buddy Nick Palumbo, I call him Pumpkinhead, big Italian guy with a big head. But anyway, he had stenciled Shrek on my back of my helmet. And so Shrek, and even my email and all my stuff is Shrek139. That's my first badge number for the department. So Shrek has been Shrek since then.
See, I thought it came from the movie because the first time I seen him, they said Shrek. I looked up.
Well, it was because I shaved my head.
I got you.
And then I'm a big guy. And so he put Shrek on there.
Because the first time I saw you and they said Shrek, I was like, that could have been a better nickname. I'm like, oh my God.
I know.
That is awesome.
So that's how Shrek came about.
Okay. That's cool. Awesome. So I know you just said you were a firefighter in the military. So growing up, in how do you say it? You are Choctaw. And grew up in Oklahoma.
I grew up in Oklahoma.
So how was life for you growing up?
Well, to be honest with you, my mother was handicapped, and I was at about the age of, I think, 9. I really started taking care of her mainly. My sister and my brother-in-law took care of her, and she would spend a lot of time in the hospital. She had multiple knee surgeries as well. Okay. And so she was eventually got to put where she was in a wheelchair and was unable. So we would have to do everything, to bathe her, change her bedpans, stuff like that. And so we just kind of lived off Social Security and welfare, really. Okay. And so we were pretty poor. And I thought we was poor until I went to Haiti, but I wasn't that poor. But I stood in line a lot of times for the Choctaw community, the handouts, the
like
food,
the rations and stuff.
Yeah, and so same with government, and we lived in a lot of low-income apartment houses and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then she passed away when I was 16. And then I moved across the state to live with my sister. So technically we were orphans, me and my little brother. And I lived with my sister till I graduated in 1995. And I was dating a girl at the time. And her dad was the volunteer fire chief of a town of 180 people.
Okay.
And so one night there was a car fire and he needed help. So I went with him. And I thought what I really wanted to do was be an artist for Disney.
Right.
I wanted to go get a degree in art and then try to do animation at that time. And then I got hooked on firefighting. And so that one event led to everything else. And so I was going to college and working 2 or 3 jobs and trying to live on my own. And I went for a Tyson interview and Tyson Farms, they got hogs and chickens and all that good stuff. And you start out cleaning out the trucks, you know, for the base job, and then you work your way up. But I had some buddies that were plant managers, and so you just had to do your time, and then you can switch over to their farm, and then you make more money. And so I went for an interview for that, and then on the way back, I stopped at this, it's like an Oklahoma version of Taco Bell. It's called Taco Mayo. And I saw Army recruiter in there, and I already knew that I wanted to be a firefighter, and I just wanted to speed this process up. So I went over to him. I was like, hey, I got to talk to you. And I was like, you ever put anybody in the Army as a firefighter? Because I knew there were firefighters in the Army. He's like, no, but we'll try. And so a month later, we went up to MEPS. And, you know, they were 3 things you got to pick what you want to do. I was firefighter, medic, and then a police officer. I would just want to do first responder stuff, emergency medicine, all that good stuff. So I'd pick the 3, and we went up there, and there was 1 slot open. And so I took it.
The rest is history.
The rest is history.
I like it. So I got to back up now. Shrek, you say mom passed away.
Yeah.
You and your brother, you're basically father figure for your brother, I assume.
Well, our father figure was my brother-in-law, Wally. He was really the only man around. My father was never around, so my mother was single, and she did the best she could for us. And so we were just orphans because the way she passed away unexpectedly, and there wasn't like an estate or any kind of will or anything written out. So our sister just took us.
Okay, gotcha.
And we lived with her I lived with her for another year and a half.
Right.
And then as soon as I graduated, I moved out.
So now check this out, Shrek. Nobody's probably told you this, but I'm gonna tell you because you know I love you, brother. I'm gonna be honest with you. Shrek, you black, man. I don't know if you knew that, dude. I don't know if anybody told you. You black, man. You grew up poor. You had to whip our cheese. Mom passed away. Taking care of your brother. Living with your sister. Hating the world. I hate to break it on to you, bro. Maybe you looked in the mirror lately.
No, let me tell you. So I was only one, and I say only the light complected. There was 2 white complected families in a whole neighborhood I lived in. And my best friend, her name was Bridget, and she lived upstairs. And one day we had a skateboard and we were riding around. She skinned her knee and she said, see, we're both pink on the inside.
That's awesome.
And her mom made the best Kool-Aid. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I guess I am.
Funny you talk about Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid always comes up on my show because did you watch Luis Cantrell when you're talking about my Kool-Aid?
I watched a little bit of it. I got to finish it.
You got to finish the end of it, man. She busted me out because I use the Great Value, which is a Walmart brand of Kool-Aid, and it's cheap. And, you know, it's not the real big Kool-Aid man in the thing. But anyway, so growing up, now you become a firefighter, and, you know, you start your military career as a firefighter, which I'm assuming you saw some pretty horrific stuff.
I did. So I'll give you a little bit about. There's like 300 Army firefighters at any given time. It's kind of it's a very small MOS. We go to Lewis F. Garland Fire Academy in San Angelo, Texas.
Okay.
The Air Force has the fire academy, and it's a 4-month fire academy. And we come out of there with all the training, and the Army and the Air Force do structural firefighting, crash fire rescue, and EMS, and hazmat, and that's what you get out of the fire academy.
Right. Okay.
And then you get stationed. So I got stationed back at Fort Leonard Wood. I did the basic there, and then stationed back at Fort Leonard Wood, and that was one of the 4 deployable fire departments in the Army. And so when we went to Haiti, we deployed and we provided crash fire rescue in Haiti. That was our main mission, is to protect the helicopters first, the base second, and then we do stuff. And so when we got to Kosovo, it was a little different. It was a Wild West out there, so it turned into we were protecting the helicopters, you know, when they're doing their flights and their missions, and then protecting the base. But they were burning, the schools and churches. And so what happened was they got the bright idea to send us out at night, and we were escorted out at night initially by the Big Red One's MP, and they left us the first night. That's why they only did it one time.
Right.
We were in fighting fire, and they left us on a QRF, and we didn't have comms, or we were unprotected.
Just out there flapping.
And there was we were taking rounds down, and we were like, it was not a pretty sight.
Gotcha.
We got back to base, and we were very happy to be back. And then 82nd escorted us out from then. So we would roll out with at the time, the Humvees that we had in '99 wasn't up armored, but they had
light skin.
Yeah, light skin. And so there would be 4 of them. They would set up a perimeter. We'd fight fire. We'd put out churches and schools, and stuff like that, and businesses.
So having seen that, and I know I've smelled hair burn before. I've never really smelled a human body. Actually, I haven't smelled a human body burn before. That's probably one of the most terrible smells you'll ever smell.
It doesn't go away. You know it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. So how do you cope with that?
Well, I didn't cope with it at all for a long time, to be honest. It wasn't until the end of my career where I was really burned out, man. I did 22 years in the fire department.
Mm-hmm.
I was a paramedic. I was also a registered nurse. I flew for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so all that had caught up with me. And I was hallucinating at work, and it wasn't good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, seeing ghosts, seeing, you know, you name it.
Right.
Right. I'm seeing it. And the visions, the imagery, the stuff in your head.
Oh, yeah.
It's constantly there. It's like you watch ESPN 30 for 30. It's a highlight reel.
Right.
All day.
Just keeps playing.
Keeps playing. And it's back there all day. And that's what really people don't understand. It doesn't go away.
Oh, yeah. I'm with you. So now for you, I know for me, it took me like a wake-up call. What was your wake-up call where you knew, like, dude, I'm jacked up. Like, I need to get help? Like,
well, I got hurt at work, and that was the biggest blessing of my life because that got me into the vet center.
Right. And
that got me into therapy, and that got me back into art, which we'll probably talk about in a little bit. But
yep.
I use art as therapy, and art is my therapy.
Okay.
I do it on a daily basis.
So now, growing up, was art your therapy then growing up?
Yeah, because it was something I had like from 5. So at the age of 5, I could do stuff that like kids could at the age of 10. 10, I could like at 20.
So you were a step ahead.
I was way ahead.
Gotcha.
So it was like a gift. It came really easy.
Okay.
And so I did that in middle school. We had an art program, and then I had a buddy. His name was Mark Whiteskunk, another Indian kid. Mm-hmm. And he was just as good as I was. And so it became a competition. We became buddies.
I like it.
And he would do something. I'm like, I'm going to do one up you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd bring it. He'd bring it back. And we just made ourselves better artists is what we did.
That's awesome.
And I used it through all my life because it was something that I had nobody could take away from me.
Right.
Right. And growing up in the way we did, you know, I could take a pencil and a paper, I could do whatever. And in my mind, I can clear my mind
mm-hmm.
from like all the things I had to do about taking care of my mom and living the way we lived. And I did it all the way up and had a tattoo shop for a while, and I was doing tattoos, and I've kind of dabbled in all kinds of art forms.
Right.
And then, you know, after I got hurt, I was sick. I had 5 knee replacements in 6 months, and I had a staph infection. About lost my leg, and I was in a bad place.
Yeah,
man. And I walked into the vet center, and I was a wreck.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that, you know, like I tell people all the time, if you look at Shrek, you look just like you're just a big guy. Like, man, that's a big dude.
Yeah.
But then what people don't see, and that's what I think is really hurting our veterans, you know, firefighters, our first responders, I think, and just regular people in general, I think what hurt people is that you don't see that injury, so you don't expect them to be hurt.
Well, it's easy when you see me with my knee braces.
Yeah, exactly.
It's easy, but it's the mental stuff that I deal with worse.
Right. And so, for you, the mental stuff, art is your out.
I mean, I can do that. So I usually blast music. Yep. I got headphones.
Mm-hmm.
I put that on. On the weekends, I put golf on.
Right.
I mute it, and then I just sit and paint. And so, you know, I'll paint all day. Some days I don't. Like, I'll paint for an hour or two, but I get up early in the middle of the night. So mm-hmm. I kind of wake up around 2 to 3 every night, no matter what time I go to bed. So I get up and I paint. It's quiet. I have my headphones and I just go to work.
So now, growing up in a small town, and I'm going to try to ask this question where it makes sense. I grew up in a small town. We were poor, you know, but we had more love than anything in our family. So looking back now, I feel like I was probably the richest kid alive. But did you ever get to that point in your life, dude, where you're just looking around like, is this the best life has to offer?
I was mad at the world.
Right.
I was pissed off, to be honest with you, since I was a kid. I was just mad at how my mother was suffering.
Right.
And there's nothing I could do about it, right? It's like watching somebody suffering. You can't do nothing about it. You're just mad. And that drove me to do everything. People telling me, oh, you can't do this, or you can't do that, or you're not going to make it. You know, you're just a poor kid.
Yep.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And so it just drove me.
So it was fuel for the fire for you then, huh?
Oh, yeah, it feeds me like nothing other. To be told that I can't do something.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think that's, and not trying to compare poor to rich or whatever. I think that when you're poor and you know you're poor, people say you can't do something. And if you got any will about yourself, you feed off that. You know, it's just like going through selection. I tell people it's sad, but or Ranger School, I fed off of people that fell out. I'm like, he ain't making it. That's one less I got to worry about, you know. And it's sad to say that, but that's exactly how I felt. Like, you know, I'd help the guy. I definitely would help you, but if we're in a school, you fall out, I'm just going to keep moving, and you're one that ain't going to make it, and it's fuel.
Yeah, and that's the way it was. It was trying to prove people wrong all my life, you know.
Yeah.
Right, and that just it's kind of like a sick game, I guess. You play with yourself almost mentally.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, because it has to drive you, and you got to win.
Oh yeah.
You got to prove somebody wrong, and then it's just on to the next thing. And it's kind of the way what I do with my art is like, even though I do one piece, I try to make the next piece better
than that piece,
than the last piece.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's just striving for perfection that you're never gonna get.
It's like golf.
Just golf. Yeah.
Just like golf. So, going back to your mom, you know, I know your mom passed away, and you know, your brother living with your sister. Were you guys like real religious as a family growing up?
We were in church a lot, and I'm still real religious.
That's good.
I don't go to church as often as I should, but I do pray a lot.
Right.
And a lot of the times when we go salmon fishing, we do a lot of fishing in Michigan.
Okay.
In October, that's a spiritual time for me on the river.
Right.
Or when I'm fly fishing, because I can pray and talk to the Lord.
That's good.
And be with nature. But I try to pray every night.
Okay.
Usually, it's part of my meditation. Like I get up my little routine. I pray.
That's good. So now, at what point did you ever have a point? And you say, at what point did you ever have a point in your life where that whole faith thing kind of, I ain't gonna say went away, but and I'll use me for example. Say me, like in combat, you know, losing a buddy or something happens to a guy. I remember we go back to the base and I would sit there and I'd be like, God, why would you do this? You know, the guy's got kids. He's over here trying to free the press, and this happens to him. And sometimes my faith would actually, it wouldn't go away, but I would kind of tuck it behind. You know, did you ever?
Well, I made a deal with God a long time ago when I first started in fire and EMS and all that stuff, that people are gonna die.
Right. Yep.
No matter what I do. Yeah, it's not me saving anybody. I'm just a tool being used at the time.
Right.
People are going to die, and I accepted that early.
Okay.
And that's how I just operated.
Right.
Right? I'll do my best, but at the end of the day, I don't have the answers why people live and die. Because I've seen people, a young kid that dies, and then I've seen a drunk driver that should have died and didn't. You know, or a heroin addict, or you name it, and then somebody just happens to die for no reason. I mean, I don't question the bigger picture because I don't know. Right. I just, you know, it's just kind of like my sister's and my niece's death. God needed them more than we did. Right. That's the way I look at it. I mean, that's the way I kind of have to operate.
Now, how old was your sister and your niece when they passed away?
I can't really tell you because I have memory issues, but I will tell you, I think it was 2010. So my niece was 21, I believe, at the time, and my sister, my older brother's 11 years, and I think she was 13 or 14 years older than me. So she would have been about my age now.
So still very young.
Very young. They were coming back from a church trip. They were at a quilting convention or something with the church.
Right.
And they were driving back, and a lady who was on opiates crossed the line and hit them head on. They all three died. They all three burned. And so,
and I know, you know, and if it bothers you, brother, please let me know. I know you've been a firefighter, and we had spoke a little bit, and I watched your Choice Not Chances episode. Was awesome. How does that affect you when you see a fire, hear a fire, or just think about fire?
Now it makes me sick to my stomach almost. Like
Right.
to be honest with you, to clean a fish or to clean a deer,
Right.
it's sickening to me because I've seen so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel you on that. Matter of fact, we had one of my friends on the show not too long ago, Louise Cantrell, and her husband and daughters, which we've talked about, they died in a house fire. And like I told her, I can't say I know what you're going through or what you feel because I haven't been there. I mean, I lost my parents, and that to me was like devastating. So
losing my mom was devastating.
Yeah.
But that also, and I say this all the time. It took everything that's happened to me in my life to be sitting here talking to you right now.
Oh yeah,
and I don't think it had to happen the way it did, or we wouldn't be here.
that is true. So I guess that's a good takeaway for our followers and listeners. Whatever you're going through, just know that I guess it's making you stronger. And in the Bible it says, God only puts what you can bear.
That's true.
And I know when I lost my parents, man, I was like, I don't know what he think I can bear, but I think that guy's all jacked up.
Well, I mean, there's been I probably was mad at God a little bit when my mom died. To be honest with you, that was a blur, man. That was a 3-day blur. To be honest,
yeah.
I mean, she died. We were there for like 6 or 7 hours before any family showed up. Me and my little brother. I found her that morning, and she had passed away in her sleep. And so that was the hardest thing I've ever done, really, to be honest, was call. Back in the day, we didn't have 911, so I had to call the police
department. Yeah, same here.
And then they were like, well, we can't help you. You got to call the hospital.
Yep.
And that's how, how little
so
I called the hospital, and I was like, man, I'm just trying to get somebody to come get her. And they're like, well, we'll send an ambulance. I was like, you don't need to send an ambulance.
Yeah.
You're wasting your time with that.
And they send the coroner or whoever.
Well, that's what I was telling them already. Yeah, I was like, no, we're past that.
All right.
Don't even send an ambulance.
Now, I hate to tap into that, brother, but I am going to ask, and by all means, you don't have to answer. Do you remember what that was? Not to the point before your mom passed in her sleep, but do you remember that day talking to her at all? Was that good or?
I remember, to be honest with you, I think she knew like a week prior because I was taking her to the doctor, and we were driving by Granite, Oklahoma. There's a maximum security prison there. I don't know that it's been on like an HBO specials, but they make big rocks into little rocks.
Gotcha.
If you get what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
And so there is a tombstone maker or a headstone maker outside of Granite. They make out of granite.
Okay.
And we were driving by, and she said, I want that one right there. And I didn't think of nothing at the time. Right. But a week later, I think she knew. I mean.
Yeah. God, man, that's terrible. So how, moving forward from that, you got your brother, your sister. At any point, brother, did you say like, man, I'm just done? Like, did you want to give up or?
No, it changed my life that day because I said I was going to be whatever the hell I wanted to be.
Right.
From that day on, like I wasn't going to listen to, and really I wasn't fair to my brother-in-law and my sister because I came in there with an attitude.
I got you. Yeah.
Right.
I
was pissed off.
Yeah.
Right. And I was mad, and I played football. Take out the anger that way.
Yeah.
And played sports. That was big things for me with sports, and that they helped me keep me in line. And like I said, it was what it was. But I decided that day I was going to be whatever I wanted to be. Nobody was going to tell me different.
Right.
And that's what drove me to do everything I've done.
That's pretty amazing, man. And I got to say, Shrek, like, I've known you for what, 7 years now?
Something like that.
7 or 8 years. And I will say, dude, like, I didn't know your story. Like, I knew you were a firefighter, and I knew, like, you'd have these funky braces on. I'm like, what's that dude's get up? Like, what's going on with this guy? But then just to hear you come in and actually share your story, man, it's touching. And it's also, it's highs, it's lows, it's positives, negatives. It's almost like, how do a human being like you go through everything you went through and still keep faith, find ways to paint, find ways to, just move forward and keep moving. Like, dude, like, that's just, to me, is like, that's amazing, man.
Well, I appreciate that.
And and you know me, I call it how I see it, So if Brad Clayton's watching this, I need to talk to him too because he's got a little weak, but if Brad's watching this, or anybody's watching this for that matter, I just want to say the reason why we do this show is sharing. And I hope that, it helps you to talk about it. You know,
It does. It really does help me. I've been working on that in therapy, talking about traumas, processing traumas, trying to get some of this stuff out of my head. You know what I mean? And it's been helping. I've been doing therapy, and art's part of it, but I've had to do a lot of hard work in therapy.
I got you.
To be the Shrek that you see now. Because the Shrek 7 or 8 years ago was in a bad place.
Oh, yeah. And I can tell that you're totally different now than what you was then.
Yeah.
Totally different. Because now you would shoot the crap with us and joke around with me.
Yeah.
It used to be Shrek was just quiet. I wouldn't say shit to Shrek because Shrek was like, that dude is waiting to eat somebody. I'm like, look at Shrek. He's going to put you in the dungeon back there. You won't ever come out. So.
Yeah. I was in a bad place. And I can't thank the vet center enough, to be honest with you.
That's pretty cool, man.
And if people's out there, man, give it a chance, to be honest with you. Even art, give art a chance. We'll talk about that a little quick here in a minute. But
go ahead, get on, man.
Art therapy is great. And, it's used it's used in Walter Reed, it's used in Intrepid Spirit at Camp Lejeune, and it's used in probably the Wounded Warrior Barracks on Fort Bragg. And so 45 minutes of art, it creates endorphins that are kind of mimic morphine almost.
Okay.
It's not like you're not getting high off it, but it's kind of the same effect.
Right.
And so the art journals out there's all kinds of studies, and it's used. And even if you're not, it doesn't matter your talent. If you're just making something for 45 minutes a day,
you're doing something positive.
You're doing something positive. And it's something you make. And it's something you have to show for.
Be proud of.
Well,
if I drew some Shrek, you'd be like, Johnny Glenn, don't you draw nothing else. Just take pictures.
I tell you to take, 2 weeks off and quit.
Yeah. So don't do no more drawing. I like it. So Shrek, now, your processes and what you do now to try to get those things out of your head. I know for me, the things I've been through, a lot of times, they'll go away, but then they'll come back. They'll come back sometimes full-fledged. Like, for instance, September 23rd, that's a date that always, for me, because that was the day my little brother got blown up, Dave got blown up.
Yeah.
And that's a day in my life that no matter what I'm doing, September 23rd and then September 29th, that's when we lost Chris Shaw, which was one of my best friends. And those are just 2 days that, leading up to those days, I'll do everything I can. I'll run, I'll work out, I'll ride my horse. I'll do everything I can because I know what's coming.
Yeah.
And when it hits me, man, it hits me like a brick, man. Do you experience any of that on certain days, or? To
be honest, Johnny Glenn, every day would be a anniversary. Gotcha. If you think about it.
That is true.
Because I used to run multiple calls a day, and then as a nurse, see 30, 40 people in the ER a day, and I did some numbers one time. I just tried to figure it out. Like, how many people have I really took care of over the years, and figuring out working half, every other day in the fire department and averaging so many calls. It was like over 10,000.
God, man.
That between being a nurse and a paramedic.
So how do you funnel all that? How do you channel all that, man?
In art, I put it in art. I have to get rid of it. So I paint a lot of dark. I paint a lot of dark stuff, and I paint a lot of beautiful stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I saw some of your dark stuff, and I'd be like, "What in the hell is Shrek saying right here?"
Well, it's there.
But now it makes sense.
It does make sense. There's a lot of, and I tell everybody that every painting has been painted in anger.
Right.
Yeah.
So you take out your anger on the painting, just.
Yeah, I don't take my anger. I had to come. I was told in therapy that I'm the only one that makes me mad.
Okay.
And from that day on, my goal was not to not be angry, but not to take it out on my family or my children.
Okay.
Or anybody else.
Okay.
And so I had to take it one day at a time, like an addict. And I got to 45 days, and then I messed up, and I had to restart.
And then
I think I've been clean and sober since. So
that's pretty cool, man.
I really tried really hard to master controlling emotions,
right,
and dealing with emotions, but they're always there.
Oh yeah,
it's always there.
Well, I think you do a good job with it, man. Now talking about family, how much did your family endure? Because I know they endured a lot. I know mine did when I was almost.
God love my wife. We moved. I worked at 10 federal fire departments.
Good Lord.
Over my career. So we moved around quite a bit, and I would be gone 3 to 5 days at a time, and then work as a nurse. I was running from the bull crap.
Right. Oh yeah, we all do.
Yeah, I was in college. I was always in college, and I was always working, and I had to stay ahead of the demons, man.
Right.
Because they were just scratching at me, and they were there. And if I let my mind slip, I was just letting that stuff back in. I was trying to just compress it, hold it down.
Right.
And it just came out.
Oh yeah, and it comes back harder too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So having Shrek here, I just want to let people know that no matter what you're going through in life.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna say somebody's got it worse, but somebody might have it worse. Somebody might have it better. But at the end of the day, I think and the reason why I wanted you to come on is because knowing you for as long as I did, I feel kind of shitty as a friend, not knowing your story, But then hearing your story, it's like, oh my God, like he survived all odds, That's why I said earlier, he's just an angry black man, Shrek. You just need to stop being an angry black man. You probably need to go apply to an HBC, brother, and see if you can get in.
I'll try.
But at the end of the day, I feel like that. Just your stories, man. I know here we just skim the top of it, man. And
it's not even skimming the top. We just telling stories on the way up here. I got stories for days, man.
Oh, I bet, man. I can imagine, especially being a firefighter, dude. I just can't. God, I just can't imagine.
There's so much stuff, man. I started off, helping my girlfriend's dad at that time, and then volunteering, and then I got into forestry through the Bureau of Indian Affairs. They started up a forestry crew.
Okay.
So back in '96, I was 18 years old, and our first call we went and saved a little 2-year-old girl.
That's awesome.
Or baby that had been lost at a park. They already had the dive team in there looking for her. Like, it was body recovery at this point. It's been like 14 hours.
Right.
And we tracked her down to a pond, and we airlifted her out there. We found her.
Was she in the pond or close to
No, she was asleep on the pond. We found her. 14
awesome,
hours later. Man. That was our first call for the Choctaw Nation forestry firefighters. We did some search and rescue, and then not too many months after that, we got called out. We went out to Oregon, and we fought wildfires out there for 3 weeks.
Let's see, that's the story right there, the 2-year-old. Those are the ones like, this is why I do this job. But then when you show up to a car accident and you got kids that are,
Yeah.
That's when it's like, no, I didn't sign up for this.
Well, you did, but you didn't.
Exactly. Yep. It's sort of like the military. I tell people all the time, it's funny how you join the military. People are like, I'll join the military, I'm going to go fight wars. And then during the peacetime, that sounds great.
Yeah.
But then when the war finally kicks off and people start getting shot, people start getting killed, now all of a sudden it's like, I didn't join for this. You see guys starting to retire. It's like,
well, it's real.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And I see people at their worst day.
Oh yeah.
Every time, every day. I mean, it may not be your emergency, but it's their emergency.
Right.
And you're just trying to do your best you can.
That's all we can do, really.
And you're called for everything. That's the thing. You're supposed to be the fixer of all problems.
Yep.
And sometimes if you're on an ambulance, there's just two of you, and you're doing everything you can with just two people. And usually, if it's just you and the driver, it's just you back there by
yourself. Yeah.
And so it is. If you're not scared on the back of an ambulance, you shouldn't be on there.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I agree.
Because there's so much that goes into it.
Yeah.
They don't get enough credit.
Oh, I agree, man. And out here, as Shrek just said, ambulances, people that are working in first responders, ambulances, firefighters, police officers. Dude, when I see them, I'm always like, hey, thank you for everything you do. And usually I don't even tell them I'm military just because I want them to know, like, hey, I'm just a person that want to thank you for what you're doing. Because at the end of the day, it's like you just said, man, they don't, just like teachers, man. I don't think teachers are actually teaching our next generation of who's going to run our country, and their salaries are ridiculous, man. I'm like, come on, like, how can you pay them what you pay them when they're actually, they're teaching and leading our next nation's leaders? It's like, that is totally backwards. But then I'll watch, sports guys get paid all this money. I'm like, all right, this makes no sense to me.
What was no different during COVID and all the nurses and the doctors and all.
They're still working.
Still working, and then, like, I'm not saying you don't make good money at certain places, but a lot of these, man, people making McDonald's are making what EMTs are making.
That's sad.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not a lot. And then paramedics are a little more. And then, if you fly, it's more than that. But a nurse is more. And so.
So now, would you say at the end of the day, most of your first responders and people that are in the line of workers service, they're doing it because they truly believe in what they're doing?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to. I mean, some people get into it and then they figure out it's not what they want.
Right.
Right. It looks fun. It is fun. It's a glorious job.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, there's repercussions to what you're doing.
Oh yeah. And not only repercussions for the present, and that's what people, like what I want to get people to realize on this show is that there's repercussions for years down the road.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people don't, and I can say just in military, I mean in life in general, people don't realize the things that you're doing, how it's going to affect, or the second, third, fourth order effect 5-10 years down the road.
Well, I'll tell a story that happened yesterday, and yesterday was my birthday.
Happy birthday, Shrek.
I think, man, 46.
46? You look 56, but go ahead.
Yeah, but I still hit farther than you.
You do. So Shrek's a good golfer. I gotta give Shrek credit. Shrek make me look bad when we golf. Shrek be out there with all these mechanical legs on him. Like, come on, dude.
And I hit pink balls.
And he hit pink balls. Oh yeah.
And it's horrible when a handicapped dude is just whooping.
I just whoop my ass. I'm talking beat me so bad. I'm like, all right, dude. I'll be like, Brad. I tell Brad sometimes, don't pair me with Shrek, dude. I always want to get paired with a guy that looks normal. So if that guy beats me, I can talk trash and be like, well, he beat me. Well, look at him. The guy's a good golfer. But if I can't say, well, look at him. He beat me. Then be like, look, Johnny, he ain't even got land night. Nah, dude. So I tell Brad sometimes, like, don't pair me with Shrek, man. Don't, Brad. And he'll pair me with you every now and then. I'm like, why you do that, man? You know he's going to make me look bad. And he's like, yeah, whatever. So, but yeah, share that story, man, from yesterday.
Oh, so this lady came in and my wife had met her, and she was a war survivor from Kosovo.
Okay.
And she's currently in the Navy. She's a U.S. citizen now, but she was outside of Bondsteel where we were operating.
Okay.
And so it kind of came full circle. So I got to talk to her, and she thanked me for what we did over there.
That's awesome.
And liberating their country, and it was just a good story.
Yeah.
It was probably one of the best birthday presents I ever had.
That's pretty cool, man.
And it was an awesome thing.
That's good stuff. And that's kind of what we're looking for here on the podcast, man. It's just sharing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're not trying to make no money. We're not trying to make anybody superstars. We're just sharing stories, because if we can get these stories out here. I had a young kid on a few days ago, Bryson and Lane. I had these kids on, and they're both brothers. And the younger brother was born he's just born with different conditions, I'll say. And the older brother's been taking care of him. And the older brother's got like an outdoor podcast. And just to see the brother love and how much he love and care for his brother. Yeah. It's like, dude, let's get this story out there. Let's talk about it. Because at the end of the day, all we got is each other, man, And I feel like our country is so torn apart between race, between classes. Okay, these people got money, these people poor. At the end of the day, like the girl Bridget told you, we all pink in the inside. We all bleed blood. Yeah. So at the end of the day, why can't we just get along? Why can't we share a story and say, hey, how do I learn from it? Because right now, there's some kid in Oklahoma, there's some kid in South Georgia where I'm from. He's dirt poor. Yep. His mom's barely making it. She's a single parent. He's sitting there not wondering what he's going to do. You mean he probably don't have a father figure to show him what to do or how to be a young man. And so these stories, I'm hoping, if nothing else, the parents can hear them and be like, you know what? You can hopefully provide a better future for your kid. Or the kid hears it, because most kids are on their phones anyways nowadays. Yeah. Or the kid hears it and say, you know what? Shrek made it. Look what he went through. He lost his mom at an early age. Didn't have a father figure. But look at him now. He's still successful. So, and that's what I think it's all about, brother.
I've been blessed, man. I've been able to do a lot of things in my life.
Yes, sir.
For 22 years, and a lot of cool things. I've got, we could talk for hours about.
Oh yeah, definitely.
About the cool things that I've got to experience, but man, just being, just part of that is like, because I always think about like purpose in life.
Yes.
Right, like a purpose. So I try to look at it like tomorrow. If I talk to somebody, if I share my story, then maybe that was my purpose. It wasn't the 10,000 people that I took care of.
Exactly.
It may be one person I'll talk to tomorrow. So that's kind of how I live my life.
Yep.
Like,
same here, brother.
trying to share it and pass it on, you know.
Yep. I went running this morning. I met a lady this morning that works for the Life Springs Church here in San Francisco. That's the name. I might have messed that up. But a young lady gave out of gas right in the middle of the road. 2 kids in the back of the car. I come up, we push the car, and they're on the hill, but they're pushing uphill. I'm like, won't we push it back? You know, I'm lazy. I'm like, let's push it back and let it roll down. So we got the car pushed back there. The lady drove me to my car, and she had an Indian name. Yeah. I won't say her name, but it was like, I'm going to say it was like Choctaw, something like that. Cool name. I was like, so are you Indian? She's like, I was like, that Indian name? She's like, yeah. But she really had a cool story. And I'm like, you got to come up with a cool story. Well, long story short, she was part of the church. Yeah. And they do all these like outreach things. And she was telling me how they go into the projects and they feed kids and they're going to be giving out book bags. And I told her, I gave her a card and I was like, hey, you call me if I can volunteer. If I got the time to be there, I'll make time. I'll try to be there. And I think that's cool. Because at the end of the day, dude, it's like, you know, it's not like you want a reward for it. You don't care for that. It's like you're paying it forward. Yeah. And it's crazy. The young lady with the kids, she was actually trying to pay us. And I go, hey, man. And I spoke for the other lady, the Indian name with the cool name. I said, you don't owe us nothing. I said, just pay it forward. Yeah. And I meant that. Just pay it forward. Help the next person. And if everybody does that, dude, can you imagine how many people get helped in one day? I wish we could do that. Like, just pass around $1 bill if you help somebody. Pass around $1 bill. Or like you just said, one of my dad's favorite saying is, speaking is free. Just being nice to people is free. And I don't know how many times as a kid, we walked by somebody, my dad said, hey, how you doing? They wouldn't speak. My dad would stop me like, hey, speaking's free. And he's a big boy, man. So he's like you big. So people were kind of intimidated. So like, oh, sorry, I didn't hear you. Hi. Yeah, you did. You heard him. Until he said something. You know, it's like, so at the end of the day, man, if we can just try to make the world a better place just by being nice, man, just speaking to somebody, hey, how you doing?
Yeah,
like,
you don't even know, like I said, in the grand scheme of it all, man, you don't know what you really, how many lives you touched.
Oh, yeah, just by speaking.
And this is going to do the same thing. It's going to blossom, it's going to grow, and it's going to touch a lot of lives. And this podcast is going to blow up.
I hope it do. Honestly, man, if it blows up, it blows up. If it don't blow up, like,
still,
exactly. And I had it's crazy because 2 days before I was released, Johnny Glenn, I will say this, Johnny Glenn was nervous. I ain't never really been, well, I'll take it back, I wasn't nervous. Let's rephrase that. Okay. I didn't know how I was going to go. You know, I was scared as hell, dude. Yeah. Scared as hell. I was like, I don't know if I should do this. And my 17-year-old daughter walked in the studio and she goes, Dad, if you help one person, it's success.
That's it?
One person. And right now, I got a lady that's on the Miss Lucretia Reeves. Hope I said that right. She sent me a message and she said, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great things. She's listened to every episode. And one episode she put on social media, or she texted me and said, that right there just helped me. Like, it helped me. Yeah. And I text back and I say, you are my one. And she was like, I'm your one. I was like, my daughter said, if we help one person, we're a success. And I told her, thank you, we're a success.
That's awesome.
And it's been going ever since, dude. And it's like, so I'm asking people, if you got a story you want to share, let's share it. Even if you don't think it's a great story, it is. Because you have no idea who can relate to that. You know, I can relate to what you're saying growing up. That's why I say you're just an angry black man, dude. I can relate to my auntie Gail going to get, you remember the cheesecake on the block? You know, it's like,
I know what I'm talking about. And if you got two, bro,
you got two. You're the heat. You can make grilled cheese sandwiches. Dude, I remember eating grilled cheese. Mac and cheese. Hey, look at here. Mac and cheese was like the best. And that cheese was real cheese because, I mean, you could be eating it and you put it in your mouth. That cheese was it would just stream all the way down. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So my uncle made grilled cheese sandwiches. You got the peanut butter. Yeah. You got all those rations. And I remember that growing up. And you look forward to that. Yeah. You know, so at the end of the day, there's people out there now, or kids out there right now that they might be in that same boat. I used to tell my kids when they were younger, you know, it might not be, and my dad used to say this too, it might not be what you want to eat, but it'll make a turd. And I remember as a kid, I'd be like, dude, that's just dumb. That makes no sense. But as you got older, it made perfect sense.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so...
It's tough, and you know, there's still people that suffer like that.
Yes,
you know, all over the United States, and that's, man, we don't help them enough. To be honest,
it's sad. It is, man. It is. It truly is sad. Yeah. You know, like every time, and I'm not saying I'm a saint by no means, because I'm going way down there. You know what I mean? Like, just keep it going. Be like, man, where that light at? You know what I mean? That boy way down there. So I'm going straight down the hill. You know, so at the end of the day, what I tell people is, if I can do one good deed, it might be like 3 feet that I don't go like 3 feet high. Like, hey, stop it right there. He's good. That's low enough, you know. But no, I do it because my parents did it, man. I watched my parents feed people. I watched my parents help people, and it was at the time it was more like you're saying, it's selfless service. But at the time, you're like, why do you do that? Because you're a child. You just don't know any better.
Well, my mom, we used to go fishing all the time. My mom took me fishing, man.
That's awesome.
I'm a big fisherman, man. And I still fish all the time. And so during the summer, we would fish all night. She was up all night because she was sick.
Right.
And so she didn't sleep very much at all. So in the summer, we would fish all night. We'd catch 5-gallon buckets full of crappie.
Love it.
Like, I don't know, ridiculous amount of catfish, carp, whatever. And
no limit, breaking laws, we good.
Whatever.
Put it in a bucket.
Put it in a bucket. And so we would take it back to the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And we would dish it out. And we would share it with people.
Now, would y'all have fish fries?
Oh, yeah.
Angry black man right here. What you know about a fish fry? You know?
Cornmeal.
Look at me saying cornmeal. And actually, you would get cornmeal sometimes in the in some of the rations. We would get cornmeal and flour. I remember that. And then my grandmother would make biscuits.
Yeah.
And then you get butter and cheese. That's pretty cool, man. Cornmeal. I forgot all about that. And we got it in a yellow bag. I don't know if you guys got the yellow. Yeah. Came in the yellow bag. I can't remember what was on it. But it was a yellow bag with red writing. I remember that.
Yeah, we used to get all fish was breaded and fried. That's the only way.
That's it. That's the only way we did it, man.
Yeah.
And same here. My dad used to. We would go fishing. We would do night fishing too. I remember we were sneaking this guy's pond, me and my cousins. And I remember you would throw the line in there, and then you would just hold it because you couldn't see it. And then when you felt it, you yank it in.
You hold it with your finger.
Oh yeah, hold it with your finger. We do the same thing, man.
Yeah.
And then we come on with catfish, man. Like you said, we come on with catfish, and the next day, you skin the catfish out, skin them up. Then we cut them into chunks, make catfish nuggets, and then we do like a fish fry and just feed everybody.
Yeah.
Because it was a village back then, everybody.
Well, we did the same thing. I mean, we would catch so much fish that we couldn't eat it all.
Yeah.
And so we just give it away. And then we'd save it up and do a big fish fry.
Yeah. And it's amazing, and I know there's still small town Americans out there because we still do it in my hometown. But one thing I wish, man, that America would go back to doing is like just having that village where if you had kids that fish and caught fish, there wasn't a problem for you to go to Mr. Lane's pond down the street because they know if you do catch fish, everybody's rewarded with that. Not just, it wasn't selfish.
Yeah, but it also was taught to you that you didn't leave a mess.
That's a fact. Oh yeah.
You didn't leave a trace.
Yep.
And if there was stuff there, you picked it up.
You picked it up.
That's a big thing for me. It's trash.
Yeah. Same here.
And it was.
You leave it better than what it was.
And when I was in Haiti, man, it was just
trash everywhere.
Trash.
Oh yeah, I know. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Probably drove you crazy.
Yeah. OCD.
Oh yeah. Yep. I'm with you, man. But that's helping through sharing, man. That's what we're doing. So hopefully, man, people out there in those little country towns, and I say this to all the kids and I remember one of my trips to Afghanistan, I told an elder one time, I don't care nothing about you, or you. And I was saying this in a mean JMFG voice. You can imagine. So my Turk's and I told my Turk, you interpret everything I say. I say, you know what I care about? I care about those little kids out there. Because you're stuck in your ways. So for the parents out there, yeah, I do care about you, but it's the kids. You mean like, what are you showing them? What are you teaching them? Because that's how people say, let's make America great again. You make America great by the younger kids that are coming up.
You teach them better. And
you teach them better. Yeah. And you want them to be better. You want them to have better.
Yeah.
And you teach them that. If you do teach them that, then guess what? The world's going to be a better place regardless. Because there are better people in it. Because they was raised that way. I don't say yes ma'am and no ma'am because, that's just the right thing to do. I say it because I was taught that.
Yeah.
Just like I tell people about racism. You weren't born racist. You were taught racism.
Yes.
And the same with us. You growing up as an angry black man in a poor little town, Shrek, but you were big though, so nobody picked on you. You know what I mean?
Well, no, that's not true. Shrek got beat up a lot until about the 8th grade.
How big did you get in 8th grade?
I was about as tall as I am now. So
you're a grown ass man in 8th grade. You should have had a job.
I know, I did. I did have a job.
Where were you working at 8th grade?
8th grade, I was, I used to help my brother-in-law at the body shop. And then, 8th grade, I had to, I'll tell you this, my cousin of mine, we picked up scrap metal for 3 months.
I remember picking up cans.
Well, I picked up a lot of cans.
Cans and pecans.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And we cleaned up this lot. It was a body shop, and they had all this steel out there, and we had to pile it up. And it took us 3 months, and we got $60. Right.
Well, that guy got a lot more.
Probably. We got $60, and so this is I said I was playing football, so this was like my second year, and I was like, I had to use the school stuff because I was poor, right?
Yep.
And so you got made fun of for that.
Oh yeah.
You got picked on for that. And so I took that $60 and I went and tried to buy me a pair of Nikes, and I was $5 short. And so my sister had to loan me $5, but I wore them things. I even taped them, duct taped them. I wore them till they were out. I wore them things out.
So you wore them Nikes out, do you?
That was my first pair of Nikes I bought. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's good stuff, man. See, and that right there is what I think America was built on, because I didn't have name brand stuff growing up either.
I didn't either. And the reason that the best thing happened to me is when I got to age like 12, 13, 14, and 15, my shoe size went up every year.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, when I got to 13 or 14, they didn't sell them at Walmart anymore. So I was like, oh, I made it. Mom's going to have to pony up or figure something out.
We got to get this done because Walmart can't get shoes at Walmart.
We can't get no shoes at Walmart.
So we had Kmart. We had Big K, Super K.
Yeah, we had Kmart.
Kmart. Yeah, we had the
Blue
Kmart.
light special.
The blue light. Look at it. What you know of the blue light special?
I know a lot about it.
I love the blue light special. You didn't get much, but you can get a little something on the blue light special.
Yeah.
And now that you say that, I want to send a shout out to my aunt. It just made me think about it. My aunt Willie Mae, everybody calls her Auntie Willie Mae Bill. My auntie, I don't know if you had an aunt like this, but my Auntie Willie Mae used to go to garage sales, well, rummage sales, we call them. Yeah. She bought clothes for everybody. And I know as a kid, man, I used to be like, when I first got my license, I used to love to drive. She's like, all right, drive me here. We'd be up at the crack of dawn, and we'd go to garage sales, rummage sales all day long.
Yeah.
And dude, she had a utility house in her backyard. She had enough school clothes for everybody in the town, bro. But that's what she did. And that's how everybody got school clothes. You know, it was hand-me-downs.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I know my kids growing up, they got hand-me-downs, and they knew what hand-me-downs were. But kids nowadays, like, not all kids, but most kids are like, I'm not doing hand-me-downs. Rah, rah. Kids, they go buy ripped-up jeans. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like,
yeah, you won't wear hand-me-downs, but
you won't wear hand-me-downs, but you're going to go buy some jeans that are cut up. That's why I'm a patent in my hat, dude. Like,
I know you need
I'm pretty sure, man, there's kids out there going to pay a ton of money for a Torb hat. Like, I can make it look just like that. Let me wear it for a little while. But it's like, come on, man. Like, I just don't understand. Like, our countries became, and like you just said, you could tell the poor kids because we had the school stuff. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I had that. You had the school stuff, you had the school pads, the school cleats, and usually they were too big.
Yeah, they were not good.
Oh, yeah, they weren't good. You know, you had whatever school got. So, and I mean, we had a pretty decent booster club, but at the end of the day, you know, you could tell the poor kids. And to me, you know, like, that's still happening in America today, like you just said earlier.
Well, we lived in a town, the town my mother passed away was in Sarah, Oklahoma, and I'll tell this story. The school was amazing. They let me work for the school.
That's awesome, man.
I'd paint the dugout, so I would do like stuff around the school, and then they would buy me like my cleats and uniforms.
That's pretty cool.
Because it was a pretty big school. We had like 3 baseball uniforms.
Right.
It depends on what we were wearing.
Right. I got
3 different hats.
Yep.
And so the church would help me, and then you know, I would work at the school. So they allowed me to go to VOTEC early.
That's pretty cool, man.
To, you know, because they knew the situation my mother was in.
Yeah.
And so they let me go in the 9th grade. So at 15, I was running a printing press.
That's pretty cool, man.
And I was doing graphic arts.
But see, that's small town, man. That's
I worked
that's what it's all about.
Yeah. So the deacon. So when my mom would be in the hospital, I would stay with one deacon of the church, and my brother would stay with the other deacon. And the deacon I stayed for had a print shop, Brad Spitzer. And
shout out to Mr. Rad Spitzer.
Take care of me and helping me.
Is he still alive?
I believe he is. His wife Dana.
That's awesome.
I can't thank them enough. I hope they get to see this. They would take care of me for months at a time, and then I'd work at the print shop for him. And so, to be honest with me, I had a job since I was 12.
That's pretty awesome, brother. That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. So, hey, everybody, we got Robert Harrell here, which that don't even sound right coming out my damn mouth. I ain't even saying it no more.
Shrek.
We got Shrek here. Thank you. You know, but I just want to thank you for coming on the show, bro. If there's anything that you would say to some young kid or young adult out there that struggling, having hard times, because you've seen it all, dude. Like, you've seen it. You've lived it. What would you...
Man, that's hard to say. I would say that you can do whatever you want to do. You set your mind to it, you can do it. No matter where you come from, no matter how poor you are or rich you are. If you really want to do something and you have that drive, you can do it.